What's going on, guys? Killer6 back with another legendary farming guide for you, and today we're at the Vault of Inceptus. Now there will be some spoilers in this video, just a heads up for you guys watching. I don't want to show you something that you don't want to see. That's why I'm sitting so close to this thing, so you won't even see the surrounding area, so you won't be able to be like, oh, okay, I know where that's at now, thanks for ruining it for me. No, I want you to find this stuff on your own if you want to, but I'm here for you in case you need help. That said, this is the Vault of Inceptus. Now, how to get here? The first thing you got to do is you're going to collect 3 vault key fragments. And I'm going to show you on the map where those are in case you need help finding them. If you don't want to see that, then skip forward to the timestamp that I'm showing on screen right now. That will bypass all those vault key locations so that you're not spoiled on that. All right, so taking a look at our map, the first vault key location is literally just moments away from where we're standing right now. If you go to Idolater Soul's place, come out the door, it's basically just right over here to the right. Next one is going to be just a little bit north of Launchpad on this mountain, and here's Horace's place. That gives you another point of reference. And then the final one is down here along the coastline, and you'll know this place because it's like this building out on the water, and it's on the bottom floor near the back. So now that you've got all your vault key fragments, the easiest way to get to the vault is to go to Zadra's place, go out the back door, grapple up the waterfall that's out the back of Zadra's place, and then just make your way to the top of this mountain. Now, every time after the first time, you can literally just fast travel back into this vault. But the first time you get here, you have to click on this thing. Echo will come in, put on all the vault key fragments, and then you just go into the vault. All right, now the first time you come in, you are going to have to push this button. You are going to have to listen to some dialogue, which you can actually run through the area while the dialogue is playing. And then you're going to have to kill some waves of enemies. And there's going to be 3 different zones that you have to clear. And each zone is going to be, you know, filled with a wide variety of enemies. You're gonna have normal enemies, badass enemies, probably some vile enemies that you're gonna deal with. Those guys are the ones that have like the crystal things that float around them. After that first time, you can actually just bypass all of the mobbing stuff just by hitting the jump pads and skipping everything. Now, would it have been better for Gearbox to give us 2 fast travels in here? One for just going right to the boss and one for starting from the beginning? Probably, but you know, it is what it is. We didn't get 2 fast travels in Sanctuary 3 on Borderlands 3, so why would we get 2 now? You know what I mean? Anyhow, that's neither here nor there. All right, so we're just gonna hit all these jump pads and go right to the boss. Now we are on Ultimate 5. You do not have to be on Ultimate 5 to get the loot from this boss. As a matter of fact, you're basically making it harder on yourself to get loot from this boss by being on Ultimate 5. You're just slowing yourself down, is basically the long story short. There is no benefit to fighting this guy on Ultimate 5 other than just to prove that you can and show off your build and blah, blah, blah. However, if you just set your game to Ultimate 1, then you're going to still get firmware. Even if Ultimate's off, you're still going to get firmware. I have not seen a huge difference between Ultimate 5 and Ultimate 0 for firmware drops, but I've been told that some firmware is locked to Ultimate mode. I just don't know much about that yet myself. All right, so this is the boss fight. Now I'm gonna show you. After the first time, you will get your Moxie's Encore. The very first time you come here, you won't have the Encore machine. We're gonna jump in and we're gonna fight this boss. I'm gonna teach you guys this guy's mechanic. When he pulls you in, you can just dash backwards to get away from that. And he does this other one where he jumps and he does like that thing and he whips his tail around at you. Once you see these options, go ahead and pull these things off, because that means he's going to take extra crit damage every time you hit these spots. If he summons in these things, then try to bust them up as quick as possible. We want to keep these things pulled off so he takes more crit damage, obviously. All right, then he's going to come to this phase, and when he does this and he pods himself up, the best thing that I've found to do is to kill yourself by shooting the back of one of those things. God, I'm so good at this game. The best thing to do is to jump, grab these things, and then float around in a circle, doing your damage to this thing so that you get him out of that pod faster. And then when you start to fall, you can jump and glide again. Now, one thing I do want to show you guys is you can technically stand on top of these things for a brief moment, and then it starts to sink down to the floor. But that gives you a little bit of a reprieve if you're not a big fan of like doing the float and, you know, doing all that stuff. It, you know, totally up to you what you like doing and what you don't like to do on there. And boss. And as you can see, whether we're on Ultimate 5 or Ultimate 0, you're gonna get a lot of this. But you do get a lot of purples too. All right, so just keep that in mind. You will get a good bit of purples. All right, now let's go over this guy's loot pool. Starting us off with the extra medium. The gold text on this one says nucleosynthesis. When energy shield breaks or fills, it triggers a nova that deals 14,872 damage. To my knowledge, this thing can come in non-elemental. It can also come in fire and shock as rolls, but I got the non-elemental one here, which will be the least amount of damage most likely that you can get. The red text says never above 5 on the call sheet of life. I believe that the name and the red text are a reference to some sort of TV show that I'm not super familiar with. Stats on the extra medium: capacity 15,095, 3,313 regen rate per second, and the regen delay is bad at 4.5 seconds before it starts regenerating. All right, so let's go put this thing into use out in the wild. Here we are outside the back of Mimicron's place, and I just want to put this thing to the test. I'm going to let these guys rough me up a little bit. You know, when you actually want these guys to hit you, they just will not cooperate, huh? Hey man, come on, help me out here. Thank you. You notice that first nova didn't seem to do a whole lot, and there was our second nova. All right, let's go over here and let this thing break again. We want to see what this thing can do on this guy. Nothing. We did nothing to anybody there. I gotta be honest, man, the nova shield's not super impressive to me. So you can see kind of the problem with nova shields like this is you have to let them fully recharge, and on this one you're not going to be able to get it to recharge with enemies shooting you. And if you run away so that it can recharge so that you can hit them with it, then it's going to recharge while you're away from enemies and therefore not hit them with that either. Bro, that is the saddest nova that I think I've ever seen in my life. I cannot recommend this shield. The extra medium is about one of the worst options that I think you could use as a shield. That's terrible. That is absolutely abysmal. I don't know what the radius is supposed to be on that nova, but it needs to be at least 10 times what it is. If this is going to be a legendary, you need to make that radius a lot bigger. Terrible shield. Don't recommend this one. Up next is the Ravenfire. This is a heavy ordnance manufactured by Torg, and the gold text on this one says 621. Explosions radiate outward from the point of impact, and the red text says Bok Bok. This is apparently a reference to Armored Core 6, The Fires of Rubicon, which I tried to love but just couldn't. Here's the stats on the Ravenfire: 49-second cooldown, damage 2,798, accuracy 61%, fire rate 2.0 shots per second, and the ammo count is 4. You notice this thing also has splash damage on it. Love the skin on this thing. Looks like what happened to me after I played a little bit of Armored Core. So let's go test this thing out and see what it does. I am not a fan of heavy ordnance in general. This thing is not going to change that for me, unfortunately. It could be a good launcher, like, yeah, you know, I can do damage versus single targets pretty nicely. I'm sure it's going to work pretty well versus like larger targets. The delay between uses is not as bad as some heavy weapons, so you know, we got that going for us, which is nice. It's just, you know, grenade mods in general are a little bit more useful for most of the stuff that I've done on the game. That said, if you build around an ordnance build, I'm sure you probably find pretty good use for something like this. I really want to test this versus the bosses, so we're gonna get those guys to come in here, and then we'll see how it feels versus them. All right, versus the bosses. Let's see what this thing can do. I went in and fired all of them at one guy, and yeah, the results not great. not the results that you were looking for right there. Can it be good? Absolutely. I'm sure that on the right build, the right character, this thing's probably a beast, but on my Rafa build, it's not great, so I'm not a fan. Up next is the Husky Friend. Now this is a Tediore shotgun, and the gold text on this one reads Husky Auto Turret. Now this is a reference, I'm just kidding, there's no reference here, that's just what it is. This thing regenerates 1 ammo after 24 seconds. That's a long time to regenerate ammo on a TDR shotgun. You're going to tear through that ammo. The red text says, we just prefer to use Husky. Now, I believe that these are all a reference to some sort of TV show, but I can't remember the specific reference, so apologies in that. Now, mine did roll with the replicator part, which means that I throw 2 of these every single time. Keep that in mind. That's definitely going to be more powerful than just a single throw. The base stats on this guy is 356 times 10, so you're going to get 10 projectiles with each shot. Accuracy is a measly 56%. It's very inaccurate. Reload time 2 seconds. Fire rate 1.7 shots per second, very slow, and the ammo count is 13. All right, so the Husky Friend, what's this guy do? As you can see, pretty good damage when you hit with the throw reload. You can see it's very inaccurate, and the actual gun damage itself is really not much to write home about. The throw reload, since I got the replicator, is pretty strong. Let's try it versus this vile enemy. Yeah, we busted him up pretty good. Yeah, that's actually not bad. The throw reload on this is pretty nice. But here's the problem. We're already out of ammo. That's a problem. When your gun runs out of ammo that quick, it's not good. Especially considering one of the perks of this gun is it's supposed to regenerate 1 ammo every 24 seconds. What the hell? What's even the point of that? When you throw reload this thing, if you just shoot it once and then chuck it, that's going to be 18 ammo that you're throwing each single throw. So that's going to get very costly. There's not really much benefit, unfortunately, to shooting this thing nonstop and then throw reloading, because it's not going to do as much damage at that point. You can see when you do a throw reload with just the empty mag, it doesn't do quite as much damage as it does with the full mag, which, I mean, that just kind of makes sense, right? But the problem is, again, you're going to run out of ammo so very fast that way. And the whole regenerates 1 ammo after 24 seconds is just honestly pretty crazy. As for the various class mods that you can get from this boss, so up first we have Vex's class mod, the Electric Avatar. Vex and her minions gain increased damage dealt for each active attunement skill. Each active attunement skill also grants Vex and her minions damage reduction against its matching elemental type. And you can see this thing, I believe, always has a 35% attunement skill duration on it, and then whatever the other stat is that you happen to roll. In this one, I got elemental damage on mine. Red text says, I'm the Avatar, you gotta deal with it. And that's from Avatar. Even I do that reference. The class mod for Rafa is the Philanthropo. Whenever Rafa re-triggers his action skill, he spawns a free grenade. If he has a grenade equipped, he spawns one based on that. This skill has a 4-second cooldown. This thing's actually really good for Rafa if you're doing like a very heavy grenade build, especially if you're using one of the broken grenades that can do some crazy damage. For Amon, the class mod is the Elementalist. This one says, whenever an affinity skill gains a stack, all unlocked affinity skills also gain a stack. For each stack of affinity from all affinity skills, Amon gains increased movement speed. So if you want to run fast with Amon, this is the guy for you. The red text on the Amon class mod is possibly my favorite red text in the entirety of this game. Do you remember the 21st night of September? And if you don't get that, then heaven help you, because Earth, Wind, and Fire is one of the greatest bands in the history of Earth. And finally, the Harlowe class mod. Now, I did not get one during my runs, but I've got a picture of it here. The Reactor. Whenever Harlowe entangles an enemy, she gains a reactor stack. For every stack, she gains 2% movement speed. When she gains 10 total stacks, she also gains 20% gun damage, 20% fire rate, and 20% reload speed. She also gains 20% status effect damage for 12 seconds, and then loses all stacks once that duration ends. This is actually a really good class mod. The red text on this one says, our nature is to fly. Not the greatest collection of gear from a boss like that. Not, you know, it's not a raid boss, but it's a vault boss. And, you know, I don't know, when you fight a vault boss, I expect better loot. I mean, decent enough class mods, but everything else felt a little bit underwhelming, honestly. And it really shouldn't be that way with a vault boss, in my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? Which one is your favorite item from the vault boss there? And tell me in the comment section down below, do you use any of these class mods on any of your characters, and what kind of build you're rocking? Appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Y'all take care.